We're just days away from the general election here in King County, and this morning we're speaking with candidates for King County Executive. Joining us right now is Claudia Balducci. She is a King County Council member, and you are running for King County Executive. It's great to have you here in studio with us. The latest polling just came out from the Northwest Progressive Institute. Shows you actually have a scooch of a lead in this race. You and Girmay Zahilay are very close. How are you feeling as we're heading into these final days?
You know, for the last stretch, it's been feeling very much like a tight race, 50-50, and the poll kind of validates that. I think that's right. I think the voters are having a hard time deciding, and there's a lot of undecided voters, people yet to make up their minds. So hopefully this discussion will help a whole bunch of them do that.
So how do we start out the discussion? You have been on the council for a while now, and you want to make that next step. What's your pitch to people why you should be the exec?
Right. I've actually been in local government for 25 years, over 25 years. I started as a line staff level person in labor relations at King County, worked my way up to run a county department, the Department of Adult and Juvenile Detention. And then, of course, I served on my home city council in Bellevue, became a mayor, and then the county council member. And I did all this, and I do all this because I fundamentally believe that local government, when we do our job right, makes people's lives better. And I believe I can do that. And I believe the county really needs somebody who is going to come in there and get it to run as well as possible, to deliver on all the promises that we make. We have a budget, an annual budget of $10.5 billion. And there's been too many problems lately with bad audits and challenges with the money getting to where it should go. I want to make sure that the government runs the way it should. And we have some big needs. We have needs for housing, for transportation, for public safety. These are all areas where I have a tremendous amount of experience and a track record of delivering big things sometimes when it seemed impossible to do so. I just want to put all of my experience, my passion, my energy, all the partnerships I've built over the years to work for the people of King County.
One of the big issues we have found is public safety. You bring that up. How would you approach it that might be different than the way things currently are?
Yeah. Public safety is absolutely the number one issue that I hear about from constituents. It's is very top of mind. I think that there are a number of things that King County should lean into. Of course, as pertains to this race, my colleague and I started with very different positions on public safety. I'm a former jail director. He initially ran on shutting down the juvenile detention facility and defunding the police. He's changed his position to be fair, but he changed it in the course of a election for higher office. So I feel that I bring a lot of consistency on this topic. And there's several ideas that I think we should lean into right now. I have a proposal for a retail theft task force. And it sounds like a study. It's not a study. It's actually a group of people who would work on making and closing big retail theft cases. And that has been shown to work. This is an effort that was done a year ago as a pilot. It was effective. It was starting to turn the tide. And then the money ran out and we haven't funded it. We have a new tax just for public safety. We should use some of that to attack retail theft. We have this movement, and it is a good one, to provide more places for people to go who are having, say, drug addiction or mental health crises on the street. It's our crisis care centers. We need to move faster to open those, but people should also know those are voluntary. Those are for when somebody's raising their hand and saying, I'm ready, help, I need help. But there are a lot of people on the streets of Seattle and around this county that are in no position to make good decisions for themselves. They're in crisis. They may be heavily drug addicted. They may be actively high. And so if they're violating the law, our options are take them to jail, take them to Harborview. That's it. I have been working with former interim police chief Sue Rahr to have a third option. And that is, look, you're going to go to jail, but if you choose, we will take you instead to this place where you can get sober, get help, and get connected to the services you need to slow that revolving door of in and out to the streets. This is something that our law enforcement folks have been saying would be very helpful to them to have that. I've been pushing for it, not really getting too far. As executive, I would absolutely push for this sort of thing. So these are the kinds of approaches I would make, and my opponent has not supported those.
Well, that speaks to the harm reduction model. I have been really diving deep into this over the past year. And what we're not doing is proactively asking people to get help. We almost have a phobia of going up to somebody and saying, man, you're not doing well. Let's go get you the help you need. They have to proactively ask for it first. Sounds to me like you are also recognizing some of that as well.
So harm reduction, when it does what it was designed to do, is meant to help keep people from dying. And so I do think that there are aspects of how we do harm reduction that are absolutely important for that. But yes, we do need that, kind of firm but loving hand on the back, right? There are many, many stories of people who turned around and got their lives back on track and have become very successful and say, it was because I hit bottom. I went to jail. It was because somebody said, you have to do this now. I think we need the full spectrum of approaches. I'm not saying we don't do harm reduction, but I do believe that we have opportunities when people are in the legal system to use that to push the issue. It's what drug court does, and drug court can be very effective. So these sorts of approaches where we're saying, you're getting a break, but only if you cooperate with what we're asking you to do, they can really, really work for people.
So Shannon Braddock has been the King County executive for the past several months, ever since Dow Constantine resigned and went to Sound Transit. What do you think of the job that Dow Constantine did? Is there anything that you would do differently than he did?
Dow did a lot of really great things, and I have a great deal of respect for some of the things he accomplished. He was very, very successful at protecting public lands. He was very successful at creating programs that were meant to invest in, say, young people and families and their success, so that we need less crisis response that we're just talking about. I think what I would like to bring to the office as county executive is delivering on big visions. There's a lot of big visions out there, light rail, which I think we'll get to, but we've got to deliver on them. We've got to show that, yes, when we invest in young people and their futures, we're investing in things that are bearing results, that people are actually getting the services and succeeding, not that we're just, as somebody once told me, we care because we spend. You have to get results, right? So that's where I really want to focus. I want to focus on delivering and accountability and transparency on the things that we're doing. And I think if there's another thing that I would bring, it's just the idea that, as I said at the top, we have to make sure that government is working right. And they tell me don't talk about sewers on the campaign trail. But if you think about it, it's one of the biggest things King County does. And if we want clean water, if we want our sewage to be treated well, we are going to need massive investments to upgrade pipes that are getting to be almost 100 years old, expanding the system because of the growth of the area since the system was begun, and dealing with contaminants and pollution that we were not built to deal with because they're, later discoveries. So it's really important that we work well with the state, with the feds, and with our compatriots around the country. Red states and blue states are all going to have this problem. We're going to need to push towards massive infrastructure investments at the federal level. We need to work well with our partners across all kinds of aisles in order to get the investments, because the ratepayers will never be able to afford to upgrade this massive system the way it's going to need in the next 20, 30 years.
Speaking of not being able to afford, let's get to Sound Transit, because latest projections, $20, $30 billion. I just heard today the number 40 billion being thrown out in terms of how far in the hole it is to get light rail where they had hoped for it to be. So what are your priorities with this, and how much is it going to cost us? It's
a little daunting to think about what the cost projections are showing right now. I will say I have been the chair of the System Expansion Committee at the Sound Transit Board for a number of years, and so we have been working on a reform effort that is just now starting to bear some fruit. That's around, we have got to get more predictable about how quickly we can deliver on projects. And time is money. If we can move faster, if we don't have to finance so much because we're moving faster, we can save quite a bit of money. And there is an entire effort that I spearheaded in conjunction with University Place Mayor and our board chair at the time, Kent Keel, who was a great guy to work with. We came up with this effort called the TAG, the Technical Advisory Group. It's, not that sexy, but and it's a bunch of little things and bigger things: organizational reform, contracting reform, making sure we have the right kind of oversight and management. That's like all the little things that we can do to save as much money as we can and be as efficient as we can. But we have to think bigger than that. Are we going to be able to deliver the whole system? One thing that I am pushing for right now is to take a really hard look at whether we need to dig a second tunnel through downtown Seattle. There's other agencies in the country and in the world that are looking at upgrading their train control and information systems to be able to run more cars through a tunnel. The best one is in London, in the London Underground. They are looking at upgrading their oldest tunnel in their system, which was built when Abraham Lincoln was president. And if they succeed, they will be able to run as many cars per hour through that tunnel as we want to run through 2 tunnels. So we have to stop and take a look. Do we need that second tunnel? Can we use modern technology to run more effectively? That could save $8 billion plus. That's a lot. That's a big chunk of it. And you end up with a better system with closer connections rather than having 2 tunnels that are blocks and hills apart. So we have to think about big things. We have to think about small things. Again, in the context of this race, I know a lot about how Sound Transit works. I've been able to move that agency to do things they did not want to do, like open the light rail on the east side before the bridge. And my colleague who has just joined the Sound Transit Board has not really been that engaged or done much to move the agency. So if you want Sound Transit to find a path to what the future is, I think you want somebody who knows how to get things done with that agency.
I suppose the concern is we're still talking billions. And,
yeah, we
are. So I know we just passed the $7 million with an M tax increase, but that doesn't cut it either. So are other taxes, is there RTA fees that are on the table here when it comes to paying for it?
So I think with a budget shortfall that big, every lever at our disposal has to be under discussion. We have to receive full report back on you could do this or you could do this and then make decisions. But the levers are scope, schedule, and budget, right? So do we build the whole thing we said we were going to build, or do we build something less? Or do we schedule, do we take longer, which while it costs more over time, enables us to finance it all? Or do we do something with finances, more taxes, or more efficiencies? I want to start with efficiencies and financing and scope questions before we talk about new taxes. I believe that the voters deserve to have confidence that we're going to deliver what we promise before we go back to them and ask them for more money for the thing we have already gotten their approval for.
You've been the mayor of Bellevue, so you have a familiarity with places in King County outside of Seattle. When you are on the campaign trail, when you're places like Hobart, Enumclaw, Carnation, what is different or what is similar compared to what you do find in Seattle?
Oh, yeah. The campaign trail has been amazing in this way because everybody loves their town and they want it to be better. They want it to be the best it can be. They take pride in their community-based celebrations and organizations that help people in need. They want safety. They want to be able to afford to live. Everybody everywhere is talking about affordability. There's not a place you can go where that's not a topic. But then there's these very unique things about every place in King County, and that's what I think the county needs to protect. Like, it's not one size fits all. We have to have different services in different places. Just yesterday, I took a long walk and drive through the North Highline area with a resident there who cares very much about it. And, that's unincorporated King County. We are the local government for North Highline. it is a place with so much energy and so much people who, so many people who love it. A lot of sort of activity. It's got a great vibe. And a lot of challenges, people on the streets, businesses closing down. They've got a drugstore desert there now. So every place has got their story, their challenges, their strengths. And what I think what the executive needs to do is to remember that there are 39 cities and all of the unincorporated areas of King County, not just one city. Yeah. Although we do love Seattle very, very much, and Seattle's our big city, and we will absolutely work well with Seattle, we've all got to work together. I'll say one thing I've really appreciated about the current mayoral administration, they have been willing to work regionally. That's not always the case with Seattle leadership. And so having a balance of leadership between the city of Seattle and the county where we work well together and truly work well with the rest of the county, I think is a very powerful thing.
So your closing argument, we are headed to the ballot box,
Yep.
at least the drop box on Tuesday. What's
Yep.
your closing argument? Why should people be voting for you?
Yeah. We're in an incredibly challenging time right now financially in terms of what's happening with the federal government and the funding that we normally get and the policies that they normally have. We talked about transportation challenges, housing affordability challenges, public safety, which continues to be top of mind and which continues to need a lot of attention. It's really not a time for on-the-job training. I hope the voters see the value of having somebody who is truly ready to get started on day one, because, by the way, because the county executive stepped down before the end of his term, this term starts the minute the election is over. So you really want somebody who's ready to go, and I believe I am that person, and that my experience and my track record will show that.
King County Councilmember Claudia Balducci. Claudia, thank you, and thank you for watching.
Thank you so much.